Okay, great. Thank you everyone for being here today for the Pennsylvania Native Species Day discussion. We'd like to start off the conversation with Kris Abell from the Pennsylvania Department of Ag. Kris?
Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to try to share my screen. I just have a few slides to share. Is that coming through okay?
Yes.
All right, great. My name is Kris Abell. I'm the coordinator for the Pennsylvania Governor's Invasive Species Council. I'm just going to take 5 to 10 minutes max here just to talk about the council who is bringing to you today this information about the Pennsylvania Native Species Day. And I just want to start with a little background. Many folks still don't know about the council and who we are and what we do. So first off, the council was created by executive order. Governor Wolf reissued an executive order in 2017 to reinvigorate activities of the council and to increase public members from 10 to 14. The reason that the executive order was issued and the purpose of creating the council was to provide a forum through which multiple state agencies and non-governmental entities meet with the common purpose of identifying invasive species of concern that threaten the Commonwealth's natural and agricultural resources. So that's what the council was created for. It goes on in the executive order to give the council specific mandates. So the council is responsible for developing and implementing a statewide invasive species management plan. We are to provide guidance on prevention, control, and rapid response initiatives for invasive species. And finally, we are to facilitate coordination among federal, regional, state, and local efforts. Invasive species don't follow particular boundaries or borders in the state. Although different entities have different jurisdictional responsibilities, it often takes a large team effort across those boundaries and borders to effectively manage invasive species. So that's a big purpose of the council, is to allow for that coordination to happen. I mentioned earlier that the reissuing of the executive order expanded the number of public members. So I just wanted to take a moment here to mention all the members that the governor did appoint to the council. There are 7 state agencies: the Department of Agriculture, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Department of Environmental Protection, Transportation, Health, as well as Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, PA Game Commission. And then as I mentioned, there are 14 non-government agencies, public members. We have the Western Pennsylvania Conservancies, representatives from Penn Ag Industries, PA Landscape and Nursery Association, the Farm Bureau. We have 3 different universities represented, as well as Pennsylvania Sea Grant, who's hosting our meeting today. Philadelphia Port Authority, Pennsylvania Association of Conservation Districts, County Commissioners Association, the Association of Township Supervisors, the Allegheny Plateau Invasive Plant Management Area, as well as Pennsylvania Lake Management Society. So that's what comprises the council. This group of folks meet quarterly throughout the year and discuss pressing invasive species issues. Between meetings, the council is also very busy. We have a number of committees that are formed and are active. And I'm just going to name them here today without going into exactly what they do because of time concerns. But we have a committee that's working on the development of a partnerships for regional invasive species management program that would cover the state. That's probably our #1 priority right now. We also have a legislation and policy committee. We have a committee that updates that Pennsylvania invasive species management plan, which the executive order mandated we author. We also have an invasive species listing and prioritization committee that lists species of greatest concern for the state and prioritizes them and lists them on our website. We have a communications committee, out of which the idea for the Pennsylvania Native Species Day originated. So that's why everyone's here today. We have an aquatic invasive species rapid response plan committee, a grants and funding committee, and a forage mulch and gravel certification program committee. If any of those spark particular interest for folks, I'd be happy to provide more information. You're welcome to email me. I'm right here in the Harrisburg office at Department of Agriculture. There's also a ton of information on our website if you just search for PA invasive species. One of the top hits that will come up is the council website, and you can find a lot of information there. Those quarterly meetings that the council has that I mentioned that are open to the public, and the next one occurs on March 16th. And again, anyone that would like to attend or see meeting minutes, just reach out to me, and happy to provide you with that information. So that's all I had to share about the council. And now the main event here is to learn more about Pennsylvania Native Species Day. And for that, our Communications Committee Chair, Dept Klenotic from DEP, is going to talk about that. So Deb, are you ready?
Yes. Hi, Kris. Thanks a bunch. Just give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen. I apologize. I worked with Kelly and Kris for a half an hour to try to get my camera set up, but it just would not cooperate. So, so yes, but as long as the most important thing is that you can see our, Kris, could you let me know, can you see the PA Native Species Day webpage? Can someone let me know?
Yes,
Yes.
Deb, you're good.
Okay. Oh, yes. Great. Okay. Thanks. So, yep. Thank you, Kris and Kelly. Yes, my name is Dept Klenotic. I am the Deputy Director of Communications at the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, which is on the Governor's Invasive Species Council, and I chair the Communications Committee for the Council. I think we've got, in addition to Kelly and Kris, we've got a few other Communications Committee members on the call today. We're very excited at the great interest in Pennsylvania Native Species Day that is growing around the state. So thank you everyone for joining today. It's really great to see the interest among educators, wildlife organizations, community organizations, municipalities, master watershed stewards. It means a lot in raising public awareness of the importance of native species, that you are the work you're doing and you're interested in our second annual Native Species Day. So I'm excited to announce that the second annual Pennsylvania Native Species Day will be Thursday, May 18th. I'm going to just give you an overview of Native Species Day, and then we're going to open up for discussion. I want to encourage you, welcome you to take the time to ask any questions you have, share any ideas, just reach out. We have a good sized group, so it's possible you might make some connections today and maybe discover a partner that you can team up with for an activity on Native Species Day. So this webpage is on the Governor's Invasive Species Council website. We are in the process of getting a short, easy URL for this page, which we're hoping will be PennsylvaniaNativeSpeciesDay.gov. We don't have it just yet, but that we should be getting that soon. And this is the central hub for Pennsylvania Native Species Day. Gonna come back to some of the info here, but first I wanted to just talk a little bit about why we launched the Native Species Day last year, kind of what the thinking is behind it. So as you heard from Kris, the Governor's Invasive Species Council mission is to reduce the proliferation of invasive species on land and in our waters. And council members have a lot of work underway on this. And it takes a lot of work because invasives, of course, have no natural predators in our ecosystem. And with Pennsylvania Native Species Day, we are intentionally pairing the invasive and the native species challenges. So Pennsylvania Native Species Day is very much a dual message. Celebrate and treasure our native plants, trees, insects, fish, and mammals, and also protect them by helping to reduce the spread of invasive species in Pennsylvania. It's wonderful to appreciate our brook trout and our hemlock, eastern hemlock, and our many other native species. It's even more wonderful and better to learn about the challenges they're under from the proliferation of invasives and to work to try to sustain our native species populations. So while a lot of us, I'm thinking a lot of people on the call even may be working year round on these two fronts, the natives and invasives. A lot of Pennsylvanians really are not aware of the difference. They may not realize that one tree is not native. For example, the Callery pear. Species that have been introduced and are kind of commonly seen, there a lot of people may take them to be, just assume they're native. So the goal of Pennsylvania Native Species Day is to take one day of the year and amplify the message, to learn about, like, I guess, the importance of learning about, being aware of our native species and the challenges they're facing from invasives, and to team up with a lot of folks getting engaged and elevate our message that way. So think I've made it clear. We're not just focusing on plants or trees. We're not just focusing on land. We're focusing on aquatic species, or fish, or native insects, for example, native bees. PA Native Species Day is, looking at all our natives. So last year we launched our first Native Species Day with a press conference at the Fish and Boat Commission grounds in Harrisburg, and we had 7 state agencies talked about the challenges that invasive species are causing and the need to protect native species. In addition, it was really exciting. Over 10 parks and organizations jumped right on board and organized activities. It was, we were really grateful for these early advocates. This year, the Council for Invasive Species, we will likely hold another press event on May 18th in Harrisburg, probably in the Harrisburg area. It's kind of early days. We don't have that nailed down just yet, but we will probably do some type of activity in the Harrisburg area. Our hope is that there will also be other activities by your organizations, your businesses, your groups around the state. Personally, I would be overjoyed if there were at least 3 activities in each of the 6 regions of the state: Northeast, Southeast, North Central, South Central, Northwest, and Southwest. That would be pretty spectacular. One question that we started to get toward the end of this year, and actually last year when we held it was June 18th, at that time, and then also again, like toward the end of the year, a few folks have asked what activities can they do for Native Species Day. And I wanted to just the answer is pretty simple. It's a broad range of activities. You can do an in-person event. You can do a hands-on activity. You might do something online, such as a webinar or an online contest. We did put it just to kind of salt the pot and throw out some ideas. The communications committee kind of listed a few things that I hope I'm showing on the webpage right now. These are just some thoughts on things you might consider doing. If I won't go through the whole list because you can come back to this page, but if you've got a stream bank buffer that you've planted with native species on your farm, that would be might be a nice opportunity to a nice feature to highlight to your community. Walk and talks are, I think, a really good activity to do. You might do one on a native plant or tree, a native, well, this I guess wouldn't really be a walk and talk, but more like a boating event. You might highlight a native fish and the species that are crowding it out. You might do a bird walk focused on the interconnections between plants and birds. Another thing I thought was last year, 2 organizations, I think the Penn State Extension up in the Northwest counties, and then also the Natural Lands Trust in Southwest PA organized invasive plant pooling events. I think that would be grand if we had at least 2 or 3 of those in each of the 6 regions. I think one thing you'd want to keep in mind is what you do with the invasive plants once you've pulled them, where, what is the best way to dispose of them. But I think that would be a really great event. So there are a number of things you might check out here, and you probably have your own good ideas as well. I wanted to just mention that Native Species Day activities don't need to be costly or fancy. It's more about just getting people together and raising awareness and educating. I was also thinking just this morning that another, in terms of like the walks and talks or kind of outdoor talks, I just recently finished Doug Tallamy's book, The Nature of Oaks, and he approaches the life of an oak tree on a month-by-month basis. So, possibly a talk in May focused on what's happening on an oak tree in May might be a fun thing to do. We just ask that if you organize an activity online or in person, please use our official Pennsylvania Native Species Day graphics in any communications you might do for your event. We will have it available in different sizes here on the webpage soon, in coming days or weeks. So you can kind of think of Pennsylvania Native Species Day as a little bit like Earth Day, in that the council, we can't provide funding for activities. We simply don't have a budget, but we can help promote your activity a bit if you'd like. We can, one thing we did last year, and I'm looking forward to doing again this year, is if you plan to hold an activity, please let me know, and I will compile a list here. We'll share the name of your organization, the activity that you're doing, and a link to, if you've got a web page, we can, we're very happy to link to it. And there may be some other press outreach, might do an advisory few days beforehand with a list of activities. Not sure on that yet, but that's something else I've been thinking of. I wanted to just also mention, I just learned this morning from our design office that I will have 10 posters for Pennsylvania Native Species Day, you know, reflecting this graphic. So kind of the same look, but I'll have 10 of those printed, kind of like medium size. And I would maybe, like, I don't know, among the first, I can mail out 10 to organizations who line up activities. Maybe we'll do, like, if we get, we'll do a random drawing of the, I don't know, or the first 10, or a random drawing among the first 25 activities or something. I'm happy to send out the posters too. The other question that has come up is a few times is, you know, what are the authoritative sources on what are Pennsylvania's native species? And I just wanted to note that Pennsylvania is very fortunate to have some great experts on native species. I'm guessing some of you are probably on this call, and I'm definitely not one of them. I'm still learning. But we did, our communications committee has gathered a few sources of information that you might use to learn, like, you know, which plant is native to PA, and or which amphibian, or which insect. So this is a list of resources that I've been in and out of quite a bit myself. If you if you'd like, if you know of some other sources, please feel free to list them in the chat. I think everyone would appreciate that. I did want to mention some sources on invasive species. I can't remember, Kris, if you mentioned this or not, but the Governor's Invasive Species Council recently compiled a list of about 300 invasive plants, insects, and pathogens and animals that are right now having the greatest negative impacts for Pennsylvania, or potentially they may be in surrounding states and may potentially affect PA. So that is on the council's webpage, on the council's website. There's a link here, and that's I think a great tool for kind of a comprehensive look at it really gets the point across that invasives are like a large problem and getting larger. There are also some other resources here on aquatic invasive species of concern. There was a hearing in summer of 2021 that I think Senator Yaw's office organized, and there's video if you would like to hear from some state and business and academic leaders who go into some pretty enlightening detail on the challenges that invasives are presenting to Pennsylvania. That's super informative. And then there are some articles that I think are good examples of like sort of case studies of how invasives can negatively affect natives. So there will be more coming to this webpage, but this will be, this is our online home for Pennsylvania Native Species Day 2023. And now I think, Kelly, if your team could help, we will open up for your questions, your thoughts, ideas. Think you'll need to raise your hand if you'd like to speak, or you can use the chat. But either way, if I could ask you to please note your name and your affiliation, that would be great.
Yes, Deb. So just I'm looking at the chat and questions and really great comments and questions. I'm just going to focus on some of the questions for right now, just so we can kind of get through some of those. Can activities be scheduled anytime, or do they need to be scheduled on that date? I think I know the answer, but Deb, I'm going to defer to you.
For this particular case, we would really like it if you can focus them on that date as to the fullest extent possible. To be honest, I'm hoping that we are still celebrating this in 10 years and maybe, and it will still be on Thursday or on May 18th. But if that's, you know, maybe we'll go into like Earth Day has evolved into kind of Earth Week. And if that happens over time, that's great. But that would be so exciting. But right now we would like to try for the 18th.
Okay, great. And let's see, next is, should we register an event or just email the communications committee? I don't, how is that being handled, Deb?
Yeah, good question. We don't have a registration. What people did last year, they just emailed me to let me know what they have organized, and you know, if you have a web page, if you have a link, and if you require registration, I'm very happy to list some activities as they're getting, you know, being offered. But we don't really need a registration. And in fact, if you'd let, you can organize an activity and you don't need to let us know even, but we would love it if you would, and we're happy to help share that.
Okay, great. And as far as the posters, are they available for purchase?
No, we don't have those available for purchase. So what we will be having here in the next probably couple weeks or so, trying to get to the tools. We will have our graphic that will be sized for banner. So like for the top of a web page, or like a calendar page or a newsletter item. We will have it sized for the different social platforms. We will have a vertical poster size that you could download and print yourself. Maybe in Invasive Species Day 2024, maybe we could sell them. But right now we'll have these high-res files for you to download.
Okay, great. Let's see, next question. So just about the date, is it always May 18th? This is the first year that it is May 18th. So that may cause, you know, an inconvenience for some folks that it's on a weekday. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the chat to find questions. Okay, so will there be a way for organizations in common areas to network with each other for events?
What was the question again? What exactly?
So, yeah, we had talked about this loosely, just as in conversation about ways that organizations that are in the same region, maybe, to network with each other, either in planning or hosting events. For folks who maybe are interested in participating but can't necessarily commit to hosting an event.
Mhm.
How can people find each other, in other words? That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say we could use the email list that from your registrations, and if people are willing, we might yeah, set up some, I think, Kelly, you were suggesting earlier, possibly regional follow-ups. That might be something we could do to kind of keep people connected.
Yeah, and maybe a way to do that is by taking the registration list and reaching out to folks, and then asking for volunteers. You know, folks are, if there's someone you know, in a whatever your region is, if you are willing to host like a group conversation of other individuals in your region, to kind of plan events or, you know, co-host events, we could kind of pitch it out there, to ask for volunteers to participate in that way. That way it's you know, shared load of responsibility and volunteerism. So that might be one way to achieve that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the email list, we could use the registration emails here and follow up with some outreach that way.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll make that happen.
Good question.
Let's see. So where can private property owners find resources to help eliminate invasive species from their property? Is that, are those are those resources already available on the website?
I don't know, like resources as in, you know, people, equipment.
Yeah, I know that's one thing that, so in Pennsylvania Sea Grant, we work with invasive species and aquatic invasive species, and we do have resources available on our site, and several of our staff have expertise in that area, and know folks around the state who, you know, who work at varying levels, so that the resources might, you know, that you're seeking, Jack or Jake, might be available on Pennsylvania Sea Grant's website. And if not, you can certainly reach out to us and we can, you know, try to direct you. And we can think about that too as something for Native Species Day, is just, you know, resources or links to resources for folks, for private property owners. So we can.
Yeah, I want to just real quick ask Kris, I don't know, are you aware of any organizations that provide you know, tools, equipment, people, funding to private landowners to remove invasives?
I think it's going to be highly variable across different parts of the state. Some conservation districts may provide some help in some of the areas that you mentioned, but some may not. And I think there's that inconsistency and general lack of help is one of the reasons the council is trying to establish a PRISM program in the state like New York has. And that's a whole other subject we probably don't have time to get into today. But that would be the best answer I have at the moment.
And that is spot on. Yes.
Yes. A couple of folks And Mason, thank you for bringing up the idea of a Facebook group as a way to enable folks to connect with each other, to create, to work on regional events, and to share information and ask additional questions. Mason, that's a great idea. Let's see.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we'll figure out the logistics. We again, we have. So one thing I will say, that for many of you, when you registered for this event, unfortunately, my Zoom settings had changed. For registration, I normally ask for affiliation or organization, and your title. That was not included in the registration information for most folks. So if you have asked a question or participated in the chat, if you can just send a direct message to me, just with your affiliation. Your name will come up again, just with your affiliation and your title. That way I can put that information back into the full spreadsheet of participants, and we can kind of connect people a little bit better too by knowing organizations and regions and that kind of thing, so we can kind of connect people a little more thoroughly. So feel free to just send me a direct chat with that information if you don't mind, or email is fine too. Let's see. Lots of comments. This is great. Sorry.
Hi
Does
there.
anyone- What's that? Hi, Deb.
Yeah, this is Deb Carmen. I had a comment, and I'm Deb Carmen with the Penn State Extension Master Gardeners Program in York County, and I'm the chair of the Native Plant Habitat team, and we do a lot of outreach on this subject. And talking about resources for homeowners, the plant invaders of the Mid-Atlantic is a good resource, and now that is online, if any of you are familiar with that. And that does detail control for the different invasive plants, and they have updated that because we had the books that we've already sold at our events, but that's a good one that does give information on controlling specific controls for different invasive plants.
That's great, Deb. That's a great group.
And I also wanted to ask if we've had people ask already about what you're just talking about, resources for homeowners for removing invasive plants. I realize that's a huge problem, but for the noxious, I guess the class A, like kudzu, who should they contact? Because that's one that I know that one has to be removed if it's found. And I had someone ask me about that specifically. What would be the exact route to direct them?
Deb, I don't know. I'm not sure if I understand your question. Are you asking?
Yeah, asking for
help?
That we would be able to direct a visitor to our booth, and they have all kinds of questions, but if they're asking about something like that would be really serious, what website or who should they contact on an issue such as that? If they have, I guess, giant hogweed or kudzu.
So the Department of Agriculture has a control plan noxious weed website, and they have listed the class A, class B, class C noxious weeds there. And there's also information on how to report those problem weeds, and contacting someone through those channels should provide assistance.
Okay,
Control plan.
that's what I was looking.
Yeah, control plan noxious weed program at the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. There's many comments in the chat. Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask? Either to unmute and or on camera? Kathleen? I just unmuted you, Kathleen, so you should be
Oh,
able to speak. Hi.
Hiya. Yeah, I put this in the chat, but I just wanted to put this out there. We were trying. I work over at PA, the Department of Environmental Protection and the Environmental Education Grants Program, and we are trying to come up with some meaningful things that we can distribute at events that helps to promote climate change actions, pollinator gardens, and potentially, native planting of native species. But I've been really struggling with finding an appropriate seed to have packaged. I've come into mixes that are not necessarily all native, and we're looking at, we want something that's easy to grow, and like I said, none of those mixes, you have to special do that, and not everybody has large spaces to plant. And I didn't know, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's all these experts that are here. I didn't know if anybody could suggest a Pennsylvania native, something that we could give to children where they would be successful in growing, or maybe somebody would even be willing to get together with me afterwards and give me some ideas.
Kathleen, this is Connie Schmotzer. I put a little note in the chat box about contacting Earned Seed. Mark Feely and some of the folks over at Earned Seed have super expertise in working with these seeds and could give you an idea of which ones might be good for the entire state, which ones might be easier to get started, because each one, may have a different way of having to overwinter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got that expertise. I would really talk to them and see if someone like Mark could give you some advice.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you both. Kris Firestone, I just unmuted you. Do you have a question?
Thank you. Yes, I've just responded to Kathleen also. And I just wanted to let you know that, DCNR is the agency with native plants in Pennsylvania. And I sent you an email, Kathleen. And so I can definitely work with you too. There are many species that might be erroneously thought of as native in PA, but are not. But I'd be glad definitely to help you with that too after you talk to Ernst.
Great. That's one of the goals of today and benefits of today is connecting people with each other for resources and ideas and opportunities. So thank you for those conversations. Any other questions? Okay. Kris and Deb, have you had a minute to kind of peruse through the chat and did you want to address any of the comments or suggestions or anything?
I was just, oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was, haven't been following the chat as much, but to, I think Lily's point about native reptiles, we have, I think one link on the PA Native Species Day page linking to, I think, a Fish and Boat Commission page with information on that. I don't know. I think this is, yes, a really good area. I think it's a good reminder that PA Native Species Day looks at, kind of celebrates all species, fish, reptiles, mammals, animals. I'm just going to say animals because I don't have my taxonomic categories down, but I would agree these are, I don't know exactly what kind of activities might be generated, but they should be included in the, yes, in the Native Species Day activities. Is there another besides Fish and Boat? If anybody wants to suggest a source on that, please feel free.
Also, there was just a hand up for Carol, but Carol, now I don't see. Carol, if you still have a question, did see that your hand was raised.
Yeah, sorry. I was just actually going to suggest the same thing that the prior speaker said, is that we should consider a variety of species. You could approach, for example, your local Trout Unlimited to talk about that. There's also, problems with loss of native bats, and wildlife centers might be a good partner. So just thinking about different partners that you might have. We're going to have a restoration, an ecological restoration in our township. So that's another potential good partner that we could use to highlight that date. That's why I had my hand up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we have just about 10 minutes left. Deb or Kris, was there anything else you'd like to add or any other questions? If not, we can let people get back to their day and we can follow up with questions.
Well, I do see a lot of good suggestions for resources, maybe like for a kind of tackling invasives. A number of people in the chat have noted potential resources on that. I hope we can capture that and share that maybe via an email to the group afterwards, because there's some really good options suggested here.
Yes, definitely. And another hand up, Jarrell. Oh, wait, you're muted. I'm sorry. And I may have unmuted you and you unmuted yourself at the same time.
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
First off, thank you guys for all the information. It's been very, very helpful. My name is Jarrell Harper, of course, from Seeds of Faith. And I just wanted to ask if anyone had any resources on native insects. I'm going to be doing a few talks here with the Bloomsburg Library. And we have other people coming in, and we usually focus on garden beds and vegetable plants and things of that nature. And I kind of want to expand that a little bit to insects, and then, slowly get into native plants and everything else. And I wanted to know if anyone had any information or someone I could speak to about native insects, not just pollinators.
That's fun. Anyone?
This is Dave Schmidt. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, again.
Yep.
The Bureau of Forestry has a couple of very good entomologists in DCNR, so you might contact DCNR Bureau of Forestry.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Jarrell, where are you located?
I'm located in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. It's in Northeast PA.
Okay, thinking Tim Abbey, who's one of our educators in York County Extension, does a lot of beneficial insects that might be helpful. So something you could, if travel's a problem, there's always Zoom meetings and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm just thinking out loud here. I think this is a really good area to expand on if possible. I don't know if anyone in the group does any work with native bees or any research on native bees. That might be kind of one subsection of native insects to highlight.
Probably the best person for native bees that I can think of is Sam Droege. who
Mhm.
is down at Texan Wildlife Refuge, and he's down in Maryland. But Sam speaks widely and has a lot of citizen science research projects. And if you go on his website, it's DROEGE. If you go on his website, you'll find a lot of information. He's pretty dedicated, and he may have some resources for you too. Also, the Center for Pollinator Research at Penn State. If you go on their website, their educators are working with bees of all kinds, and reach out to them in Center County. They may be able to get something good there too.
Yeah, those are great. Thanks, Connie.
Thank you all very much for that feedback.
Okay.
Someone speaking?
Well, I'm not certain what's going on there. Okay. So we have about 5 minutes left. Deb and Kris, do you want to call it an hour and let folks get back to their days, and we'll follow up with everyone? And just so you know, so yes, this is being recorded. And when the recording is final, we'll be sending out a link to it, and we'll be sharing it with everyone who did register. We had 220 people register for the meeting today, which was phenomenal, and really shows the level of interest in the topic and in the Pennsylvania Native Species Day. So that's wonderful. But of course, not everyone could participate. So we are recording it. I will share that. I also will have a recorded or a file of the chat, because there are a lot of links in the chat. So we'll be sure to share that with everyone as well. So if there are no other questions, Deb and Kris, are we good?
We are good. I think this was an outstanding meeting. I can't thank everyone enough for your interest and in potentially participating on May 18th. And I hope it's the second year of frankly, many years of Pennsylvania Native Species Day events. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your
For
day.
providing this opportunity. I really appreciate it. From Northeast PA.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Lillian. You're welcome.